Did God ever tell us that there would come a time when his healing promises would be ineffective? Is Satan's power to destroy greater than God's power to save? Health and healing has always been first and foremost a spiritual matter. Nature appears to heal us, but God works through that when we have faith and use his agencies. The stories, the historical stories that you're going to hear today have been placed in my hands. I did not go looking for these stories. I didn't do research on other things. This is what God had already given me. When I gathered these stories, I found patterns, common denominators, and natural things which were not common, yet had spectacular results. God has provided multiple ways to do the same thing, which these stories are going to illustrate. I call that God's redundant, overlapping, backup health systems. The Bible tells us, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, not ours, and will give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, that includes health statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee. It's always God that heals us. Nature appears to heal us, but God works through that when we have faith and use his agencies. We are told that we are to do that which is right in his sight. Yet there are a lot of conflicting ideas of what is right in his sight as far as treating cancer naturally. So how do we know if a cancer regime is right in God's sight? Here are the very simple tests. This isn't all of them, but it's a good collection. Has God specified it in statute, principle, or demonstration? Is it in harmony with God's health statutes embedded into Eden, the Bible, and God's advanced principles of health reform, which he gave to this church? Number 3, does it preserve the natural order of things? Is it non-toxic or non-defiling? Is it simple and easy? Is it free or inexpensive? And will it be last days friendly? Now, most everything that you're about to see passes these tests. In other words, they are right in God's sight. But so many of them are different. So here we go. Dr. McDougall. Remember him? He died recently. Dr. McDougall offered a 12-day online education program. It featured a low-fat, starch-based vegan diet. The diet rejected all animal products as well as cooking oils, processed foods, refined sugars, salt, and supplements. He did not advertise juicing either. Exercise is advocated as is sunlight. Now, in the video Forks Over Knives, in the context of his program, he talked about a patient who reversed her cancer, and then he says, other people get over breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer. There are people who have had metastatic prostate cancer all over their body who have gone through what we call spontaneous remission. In other words, they've been cured. His program was so simple, and it worked. Vegan diet, sunlight, and exercise. The China study, you've heard of that? The China study described a monumental survey of diet and death rates from cancer in more than 2,400 Chinese counties. It was the largest and most comprehensive study ever undertaken of the relationship between diet and the risk of developing disease, including cancer. They found nearly 9,000 statistically significant correlations between diet and disease. One message through them all Plant-based diet is always associated with lower mortality of certain cancers, stroke, and heart disease. Now, researchers and doctors really hate to use the word always, but they did here. Whole plant-based diets were beneficial to health, while animal-based foods were not. Really straightforward. Still, this is from Forks Over Knives, Turning Cancer On and Off. Now, the author of the China study took a group of rats, injected them with increasing doses of a known carcinogen, aflatoxin. He then switched their diets back and forth between 5% and 20% casein, the main protein in dairy products, doing so in 3-week intervals. And the results were astonishing. Whenever the rats were fed 20% protein, early liver tumor growth exploded. But when the same rats were given 5% protein instead of 20, tumor growth actually went down. That's from the Forks Over Knives. Plant protein tested in the same way did not promote cancer growth, even at the higher levels of intake, and that's from the China study. Dr. Campbell said, this was yet another result demonstrating that a low-protein diet could override the cancer-causing effect of a powerful carcinogenic aflatoxin. This is about to apply to us. He suggests, is it possible that chemical carcinogens in general do not cause cancer unless the nutritional conditions are right, unless we aren't living up to our diet principles? Is it possible that for much of our lives we are being exposed to small amounts of cancer-causing chemicals, but cancer does not occur unless we consume foods that promote and nurture tumor development? Can we control cancer through nutrition? This is not an Adventist speaking here. All right, if his assertion is true, it might be the answer for those things that we have no control over. Poisoning of mankind is overwhelming and tends to lead to a sense of hopelessness and panic. How can we possibly keep up? Well, what if it's not hopeless? Did God ever tell us that there would come a time when his healing promises would be ineffective? Is Satan's power to destroy greater than God's power to save? We must, through faith, strive to obey the laws of health. Laws of health. We need to join in partnership with him. We need to claim his promises. All right, Dr. John Ott, you've heard of this man before? He's a photobiologist. And anyone who writes a book on sunlight quotes this guy. Skin cancer cleared by light. Dr. John Ott says, one of my friends had been troubled with skin cancer and on several occasions had undergone minor surgery. He was again having considerable difficulty, and his physician had recommended further surgery. However, on his own initiative, he decided to try the same ultraviolet ocular therapy that he was giving his wife for her eye condition. Immediately, his skin cancers began to disappear. And within a matter of 4 or 5 months, his skin appeared perfectly normal. Now, here is that ocular therapy that Dr. Ott was talking about. It was so simple. Spend as much time as possible outdoors. Full exposure as much as possible. Avoid wearing any eyewear and looking through glass. Avoid artificial light sources, including TVs and now screens, computers, monitors, etc. His next one, lung cancer and sunglasses. A personal friend of mine told me of an acquaintance of his, a man in his early 70s who had just been diagnosed as having terminal lung cancer. This man lived in the Southwest and wore sunglasses most of the time. My friend sent him a copy of My Ivory Cellar, that was his book, and a set of instruction sheets that had been given to the 15 patients in New York City for living outdoors as much as possible and avoiding artificial light sources. The elderly lung patient agreed to follow the instructions. The tumor completely disappeared, and he lived for approximately 8 years before dying of heart complications. This is laying down a pattern that you're beginning to see. Prostate cancer versus pink eyeglasses. Oh, pink is very, very bad. Dr. John Ott says, an elderly acquaintance has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and surgery had been recommended. I found that he had, for many years, been wearing eyeglasses with a light pink tint, and I was able to persuade him to stop wearing these and get some new full-spectrum, clear, UV-transmitting spectacles. I advised him to cut down as much as possible on watching TV and to spend more time outdoors, or at least on an open screened porch. He has now gone for 3 years without surgery, and the problem has apparently disappeared. That's from Health and Light, 1973, by Dr. John Ott. Now, there are several other stories available concerning pink and light in our health, just not enough time to present them here. That's just a sampling. All right, now he talks about this person right here, terminal cancer. Number one, a Scandinavian doctor discovered that she had terminal cancer. She was a great nutritionist and thought fresh fish from the sea would be helpful because they contain all the minerals from the sea and would be freest of artificial preservatives and other additives. She gave up her practice and went to a small town in northern Norway where living was very simple, and went out with the fishermen every day to help catch her fish. She became a case of complete remission, but when she prescribed fresh fish in the diets of her patients back in the city, it didn't work. And why didn't it work?
Light, environment.
All of that is true. The reason it didn't work for her patients is because it wasn't the fish that cured her. It was the outdoors, sunlight, fresh air, and exercise, and those healing negative ions from the moving waters of the ocean. By the way, the ocean is the best place to ground yourself. Terminal cancer number 2. He says, the cover story of Time magazine about 10 or 15 years ago mentioned such a complete remission. A man, upon being told he had terminal cancer, immediately stopped going to his office and started reading in a rocking chair on an open back porch and also working in his rose garden. The cancer disappeared and he became a medically proven case of complete remission. He didn't do anything. He just was casually putzing around in his rose garden, sitting there reading in the sunlight and fresh air. We're going to build on this. Dr. Muhlenberg. All right. The next 3 accounts of hopeless cancer patients are excerpted from a letter written by this man, Dr. Hans C. Muhlenberg of the Netherlands, to Dr. John Ott in 1978. They are recorded in the book Light, Radiation, and You, 1982, page 88 and 89 by Dr. John Ott. Here's the 3 stories by Dr. Muhlenberg. Brain tumor. Your letter set me thinking about the lives of my patients, and something emerged which I did not expect. My very first patient was a boy with astrocytoma. That's a brain tumor, a bad one. My very first Laetrile patient, that is. He used Laetrile. It was an experiment he was doing on Laetrile. It's a controversial thing. Of course it was poison. Now, he says, he was inoperable, and they took a piece of the tumor, localized in the small brains, out, and gave some radiation. This boy is nearly pure Laetrile patient, as he was not holding his diet very well and did not take his vitamins. He is now 18 and quite healthy. Now, this is a schoolboy who has to be on a bike 4 times a day and who is doing outdoor sports like rowing. That's it. That's all they told us on that story. Okay, but we add these things up. We're adding the evidence, the weight of evidence here. Inoperable ovarian cancer. My second Laetrile patient was a woman with a recurrence of an ovarial carcinoma, big as a fist. She was inoperable and got some endoxin, I think that was for pain, but she was in much pain and was looking very bad indeed. We are 5 years later now, and she is so good that the Cancer Institute is dying to open her up, but she refuses. Now, this woman is doing long stretches on her bike every day. She is an outdoor type, and she lives in a rural country with wide open skies. And the third one, terminal lung cancer. This one, you're not going to like this one. You're going to like it, and then you're really going to hate it. Another patient is a man who lives in the same area. He came last year to my office dying from lung cancer. He was blue in the face and gasping for breath, and he had to be helped in by his wife and his brother. After half a year, he was in much better conditions, and this is important for you, he says. This man is working outdoors in his small garden where he cultivates vegetables most of the day. And that was it. That was all. But lately, this is Dr. Muhlenberg, a doctor, telling you what another doctor is doing. You can believe this is happening, and we know this is happening. Now, Dr. Muhlenberg's conclusion. All these things are no proof, of course, but it certainly is strange that the first 3 successful cases that came to my mind all were outdoor cases, so to speak, and that the unsuccessful cases, because I only mentioned one, but there are a lot more, well, they hardly ever moved outdoors. And if they did so, it was by car, in other words, surrounded by glass. Skipping down to the bottom, the 3 successful cases I wrote you about do not wear glasses. Charcoal House. You ever heard of Charcoal House? Yep, they're in my little town, Crawford, Nebraska. They are the largest distributors of remedial charcoal in the United States. Used to be in the world. They are Adventists. Kimberly Dinsley was the lady who wrote this story about pancreatic cancer and charcoal. You will completely love this story. Here it is. One of our favorite testimonies comes from a pastor down in the South. I find myself sharing his story about once a week with someone to give them hope and courage. It has been several years now since I first talked to Pastor David. He shared how, at first, he was being treated for acid reflux. But when he had a severe attack and ended up in the ER, he was told the bad news that he had pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer goes really, really, really fast. That was my aunt. The doctor told him that he needed surgery, and even with the surgery, it would probably only give him about 6 months. David said that he needed to pray about whether to have the surgery or not, to which the doctor replied, well, you can do so on your way to the receptionist desk as you get yourself checked in. But Pastor David is a man of prayer, and he went home instead to bring his concerns to his Heavenly Father, and to this day, he is so glad that he did. Pastor David started to do all the research he could on pancreatic cancer. He discovered charcoal and read John's book. That's her husband, John Dinsley. Read John's book, charcoalremedies.com, the complete handbook on medicinal charcoal. He called us and placed an order for a very large amount of the coconut shell, very fine, activated charcoal powder. At first, oh, by the way, this is one of my favorite stories. It is magnificent. At first, he started taking the charcoal orally, but because his stomach was so compromised, it was causing too much constipation. So, instead, he began to apply charcoal topically, poultices, for charcoal has the ability to draw toxins from deep tissues, because the toxins are positively charged. The charcoal is negatively charged, and the negative charge pulls that. He made large poultices to cover his entire trunk. In time, his wife made a vest out of natural diapers. Oh, natural diapers. In the design, basically like a life vest that you wear to protect yourself from drowning, or a traffic safety vest that they wear when directing traffic. He would make a large amount of charcoal jelly, apply it liberally to the inside of the vest, then press it on his front and back trunk and tie it securely with tabs he had his wife sewn on for him. And then he would call it a night and retire to his bed, knowing that his body heals the most while sleeping. Thank you for that. Alternatively, you can also apply the charcoal gel directly to the skin and then apply the vest securely. So, while Pastor David slept, the charcoal was busy pulling out toxins and poisons. Please note that charcoal has no nutritive value whatsoever. Its claim to fame is that it draws out toxins and poisons to itself. And because we are fearfully and wonderfully made, our bodies, now being rid of major toxins, can do what they were designed to do, and that is to heal itself. And that is what happened. Pastor David's body healed itself. Pastor David not only applied prayer along with his charcoal, but he read all that he could to help his body fight its hardest. In time, David could tell that he was feeling better. So we slowly began to take the charcoal internally now. And that's where the real power is. No, they're both powerful. Starting with small amounts, yes, small amounts, and carefully increasing. He also gave up meat eating and eventually became a total vegetarian and learned all that he could about the best possible herbs and their applications for pancreatic cancer. So, not only does he now have a large garden in his backyard. Did you see this pattern? A garden, outdoors, a garden?
Amen.
The Everbless have to do that too. He has also educated himself and others on the dangers of excitotoxins. And he eats organically as far as possible. Pastor David, now cancer-free, is a walking miracle, and he gives all thanks and praise to his Heavenly Father, who guided him to the use of simple, natural remedies. Now, True North Health Center is now the largest facility in the world that specializes in medically supervised water-only fasting. Participants come to fast and detoxify, lose weight, and make diet and lifestyle changes while enjoying a health-promoting diet derived from whole natural foods. Now, there are numerous case studies and videos telling the amazing recovery stories of their water-only fasting. They have had a number of patients dealing with lymphoma, which is also known as lymphatic cancer. Now, we're going to look at that published, summarized story of just one of those lymphatic cancer patients. Just a tiny little micro story, here it is. This is the patient Yvonne Weilman before and after her 21-day water fast at True North Health Center. Here's the micro story. In November, stage 3 follicular lymphoma is what she had. In November 2015, the patient arrived at True North Health Center and elected to undergo a 21-day medically supervised water-only fast, after which she re-fed on an exclusively whole plant food diet, free of added salt, oil, and sugar, SOS free, including refined carbohydrates, for 10 days. That's how she transitioned back to eating solid foods. Now, over the course of the treatment, her enlarged lymph nodes became impalpable. In other words, you couldn't feel them anymore. Follow-up CT scans confirmed reduction in size. She maintained the SO-free diet and was symptom-free at 3 months and 6 months follow-up visits. Here we present a 3-year follow-up report of a case that was originally published in BMJ Case Reports in December 2015. Briefly, this 42-year-old woman presented to her primary physician with a palpable mass in her right inguinal region and was subsequently diagnosed with stage 3 grade A follicular lymphoma. So, 3 weeks. She didn't do anything. She laid there, or walked around, or read. They didn't even mention sunlight, just water fasting. It fits God's natural law healthcare. It is in harmony with the Bible and Revelations. It can't get any easier than that. It just can't. Mei Chung is one of my favorite stories here. Mei Chung from 3ABN. I was told this by 2 women who knew her, so I don't have any references here. Mei Chung from 3ABN had amazing success when caring for end-stage cancer patients. The following is just a tiny little paragraph summarizing the story. Mei Chung used no supplements, no concentrates, no juicing. She did not even use man-made treatments on her patients. She's not even hydrotherapy. She simply followed the simple, basic lifestyle counsels we have been given. She had potential candidates promise that they would follow God's methods completely and forgive those who have hurt them before she would even agree to take them on. 2 different doctors would send her these dying cancer patients. She followed the counsel that included a wide variety of simple foods, well-cooked grains, 2 meals a day, walking in the sunlight and fresh air. And that's 6 things. It was so simple. One patient came with throat cancer so bad that he couldn't even swallow. Well, he has to swallow if he's going to get the food down. So Mei Chung stayed up late to petition God to show her what to do. God told her because she waited to hear his answer. God told her, have him chew cabbage and spit. Chew cabbage and spit, chew cabbage and spit. Within a day, he could swallow again. Her patients were healed rapidly with such simple lifestyle methods and intercessory prayer. Apparently, she had a very high success rate. They said it was like 100%, but they couldn't verify it, so I'm saying a very high. All right, let's analyze all these. The most common denominators were whole plant-based foods, that's WPBF, sunlight, and exercise outside in that sunlight and fresh air. In other words, a back-to-nature lifestyle was the most common denominator. Glasses. Removing one's glasses was unexpected, yet had spectacular results. So placing glass, tinted or not, between your eyes and the sun messes with the natural order of things. So when you're outside, take off your glasses. Juicing. Apparently, juicing was not required for cancer reversal, at least not in this collection. Detoxifying. More often than not, cancer turns out to be a toxicity issue, one way or another. Charcoal and fasting are very important detoxifiers. It is exceedingly important in such a time as this that nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities. Number 5, fasting. Fasting was the easiest cancer treatment and affords the body full housekeeping and detoxification. Now let's talk about Mei Chung here again. She asked God what to do, and God answered. And his answer was so incredibly simple. The only man-made remedy that I can recall, maybe you guys can recall, the only man-made remedy that I can recall that Ellen White recommended was hydrotherapy. Was there more? Herbs. She recommended herbs. Yes, she did. Thank you. Herbs. Now, but God did not recommend to her any treatments, not hydrotherapy. They did recommend to her cabbage. Her regime was based on faith. Mei Chung's requirement that her clients forgive those that had hurt them removed roadblocks to healing. The spiritual aspect is a very important aspect in treating the sick, for it is always God who heals, no matter which of the healing agencies are used. Now, number 7, the last little analysis here, there's more than one right answer. God has implanted multiple backup systems which give the same kind of results which this graph demonstrates. Now, just imagine caring for the sick in such a way that does not exhaust our time, budgets, or energy. Imagine cancer patients, that woman there, who have neither helper nor energy trying to buy, pack in, and juice endless fruits and vegetables. God has made his healthcare available to all. Simple, easy, and mostly on automatic, so that even the sick themselves can do it mostly. I find it interesting that none of these cancer recovery stories involved any of these man-made therapies, including my favorite, light baths, light therapy, tanning, hydrotherapy, colonics, alkaline machines, ozone, hyperbaric chambers, all that sort of stuff. So that has got to mean something. It may mean something different to all of us, but we are counseled that hydrotherapy is very effective. Yet, Ellen White's emphasis was given to outdoor healing and a proper diet. The very things that were the most common denominators in this presentation amongst those cancer recovery stories. I think it means that we simply need a change of emphasis. God's outdoor healing agencies first and foremost, then the man-made therapies. What if cancer patients remain unnecessarily difficult to treat, even for natural health care practitioners, simply because sunglasses and eyewear are overlooked? Nature's too is not fully embraced. Number 3, fear is not changed to surrender to God. Sin is not confessed and renounced. Forgiveness is not offered. Fasting is ignored. Wisdom is not requested or waited for. Number 8, a partnership with God is not made. We are overfed when sick. The patient is still eating meat. Yeah, I created the worst image I could possibly create. Number 11, we neglect to detoxify our patients. It seems to be necessary that it be one of our primary focuses in this day and age. Number 12, more emphasis is placed on man's concentrates, supplements, and therapies, medical theories and traditions than God's outdoor healing agencies. All right, now what if we recalibrate, start up right here. We have within us an almost hardwired notion that we must treat the sick. What if we recalibrate that notion to be in harmony with Eden's automatic healing principles? What would that look like? It would look like this. We change the paradigm from the emphasis of treating patients to caring for patients as we let nature do most of the heavy lifting of treating the sick. Medical missionaries need not be dependent on treatments if they feel that doing treatments on the sick would place themselves at an unacceptable risk. God has shown us easier ways. We simply care for the invalid and demonstrate the better way as we lead the invalid into the automatic healing agencies of nature and a trust in God. We show them what God's nature can really do for them. We teach them God's statutes and demonstrate what is right in His sight. This is from Ellen White, Health Reformer, April 1, 1871. There are but few who realize that in order to enjoy the health and cheerfulness, they must have an abundance of sunlight, pure air, and physical exercise. She continues on Counsels in Health. She says, life in the open air is good for body and mind. It is God's medicine for the restoration of health. Pure air, good water, sunshine, the beautiful surroundings of nature. These are His means for restoring the sick to health in natural ways.
Mary Hart.
Mary Hart. Good luck in medicine. Good point. I didn't think of that one. To the sick, it is worth more than silver or gold to lie in the sunshine or in the shades of the trees. Worth more than silver or gold? That means something. Did Ellen White ever recommend one healing agency over another, like a hierarchy? Yeah, I looked into that, and I found it. It's there. It's not necessarily in a straight line, but it's there. So, we start with this. Ready? And this is our last section here. Open air living is the only remedy many invalids need. She said, and this is her quote, physicians and nurses should encourage their patients to be much in the open air. Outdoor life is the only remedy that many invalids need. It has a wonderful power to heal disease. So, open air living is more often than not more effective than anything else. This one, the sun and air will do them more good than water baths can do without these blessings. Is the prophet of the Lord really saying here that being outside in nature is more effective than our favorite gold standard hydrotherapy treatments? She is. Invalids too often deprive themselves of sunlight. This is one of nature's most healing agencies. This whole section is about superlatives. So let's summarize so far. Water is good, air is better, but sunlight is one of nature's most healing agencies. Now that's interesting because one of the major pioneers of sunlight and open air therapy during the war on TB discovered by experience, the same truth. He wasn't an Adventist. Here's his famous quote, taken from the wall of the museum dedicated to him in Slovenia. Water is good. Air is better. But sunlight is best of all. And by the way, there are a gazillion reasons why sunlight is so healing. The following two slides are just one unexpected reason having to do with sunlight and cancer. all living organisms, including us humans, emit a low-intensity glow that cannot be seen by the naked eye. It used to be. Plants and animals all absorb light and store it like a battery. It can be seen only with high-frequency cameras. Healthy blood charged with bioenergy, biophotons or light energy, readily destroys cancer cells and disease germs. Healthy blood that has been exposed to sunlight. Biophotons can be increased by consuming water and plants that have first been exposed to sunlight. Thus, the value of fresh garden veggies, picked fresh. The greater your supply of biophotons, the more energy available for prevention and recovery of disease, including cancer. This is one of the reasons why we receive so much healing power when we eat fresh picked produce from the garden, while the photonic energy is still in it. It doesn't last that long. Now, where does exercise fit within the hierarchy of therapies according to Ellen White? She says, as a general thing, if he should engage in some well-directed labor, using his strength and not abusing it, he would find that physical exercise would prove a more powerful and effective agent in his recovery than even the water treatment he is receiving. So, yeah, exercise better than hydrotherapy, at least for whoever she was targeting this to. The Battle Creek Sanitarium offered physical labor as one of their therapies, the work cure. I'm talking about the men in the background chopping wood.
Oh, I didn't see those.
Yeah, I have to, yeah. But exercise is not enough. It needs to be outdoor exercise. This is the famous quote from Ellen White. Work performed in the open air is 10-fold more beneficial to health than indoor labor. Both the mechanic and the farmer have physical exercise, yet the farmer is the healthier of the two. Nothing short of nature's invigorating air and sunshine will fully meet the demands of the system. She continues, on Counsels in Health, locate sanitariums. If we're ever going to start a health program in a specific building, we pay attention to this.
Okay.
Locate sanitariums on extensive tracts of land where, in the cultivation of the soil, patients can have opportunity for healthful outdoor exercise. Amid conditions so favorable, the patients will not require so much care as if confined in a sanitarium in the city. Ooh, isn't that interesting? Nor will they in the country be so much inclined to discontent and repining. But if they stay indoors, you're going to experience it all. God knew that nature would help ease the burden of caring for the sick. It's simpler and easier, free and automatic. We ignore this counsel to our detriment. Skip that one. This is from Ellen White about fasting. Fasting is better than any amount of treatment, she says. Here's the quote. There are some who would be benefited more by abstinence from food for a day or two every week than by any amount of treatment. Wow. Or medical advice. To fast one day a week would be of incalculable benefit to them. Do you know what the very, very, very best healing agency is that she said? Nothing is above it. Trust in God it is. But she refines it even a little more. She says, the influence of the Spirit of God is the very best medicine that can be received by a sick man or woman. Heaven is all health, and the more deeply the heavenly influences are realized, the more sure will be the recovery of the believing invalid. This, right here, will be our emphasis in treating the sick and cancer patients. Health and healing has always been, first and foremost, a spiritual matter.